where Nigeria's conversations begin. We track the issues shaping Nigeria and the world today. The world is talking, and we're listening. This is Trends on LJE News.
In terms of tackling security, there is lack of political will.
Beyond the headlines,
who are the sponsors of insecurity in this country?
From breaking news to everyday conversations, this is where Nigeria's conversations begin. We track the issues shaping Nigeria and the world today. The world is talking, and we're listening. This is Trends on LJE News.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Trends on LJE News, where we bring you the latest and developing stories in Nigeria and of course across the globe. My name is OMOTOLA ADELEKE. I have Esther here with me. Esther, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, don't forget you can be a part of our growing online community by hitting that follow, like, share, and subscribe button right now on all platforms at LJE News. Let's quickly run through our headlines for this edition of Trends. Rivers Assembly suspends Fubara and Odu impeachment after Tinubu's intervention. Anxiety mounts in federal civil service over salary cuts and unpaid arrears. El-Rufai released by EFCC taken into ICPC custody amid cybercrime charges. Opposition, CSOs, decried Tinubu's assent to Electoral Act amendment. ADC slams Tinubu over swift Electoral Act amendment, vows mobilization. Another PDP candidate withdraws, backs APC ahead of FCT polls. Ogun police to arrest TikTok user over alleged false rape claim. And now to the lead story. The Rivers State House of Assembly has suspended impeachment precedents against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and Deputy Governor Ngozi Odu following intervention by President Bola Tinubu. Lawmakers approved the suspension during Thursday's sitting in Port Harcourt. The impeachment move, initiated earlier this year, cited alleged gross misconduct, including demolition of the assembly complex and unauthorized expenditure. Esther, Fubara, who has been allegedly called a weak man. In fact, he mentioned it himself that he's a weak man because he wants peace. But now, it's like the weakness has worked for him. Now that the State House of Assembly have decided not to impeach him anymore. So now, do you think there will be political peace in Rivers State?
Yes, I think there will be political peace because all of this back and forth has finally come to an end. Whole hustle and tussle was between him and his godfather in the political whatever, Wiki. So now they've been able to get back together and solve their personal differences and political differences. I think it's going to bring a level of peace.
Okay, so now, Fubara probably have agreed or have come to a consensus with his godfather, Wiki, with some alleged agreements that they said they had before. Maybe the agreements have started, yielding results. Because at the end of the day, Fubara actually sacked his commissioners. And
Mr. Chidi said that Wike is still the governor of Rivers State. And that's always playing out in whatever goes on there. He doesn't take decisions without the involvement of the FCT governor. Whatever decisions, it's more like the FCT governor ruling Rivers State. So it's affecting all the democratic processes going on in Port Harcourt.
All right. Now, gross misconduct is a serious allegation. The allegation of demolition the House of Assembly is also a serious allegation. Not to talk about financial misappropriation and all that. Now, it's like those things are going to be waved away. Then what happens to accountability?
That's when you see that it's more like, him being under the APC covers him from a lot of things. If he was a PDP governor, ADC governor, all of this won't be waived just like that, right? But for the fact that he's shielded by the ruling government, the APC, backed up by the president, Mr. Tinubu, and the FCT minister, Wike, he feels more like he can do whatever he wants to do and get away with it. But I feel like the moment he defects from the ruling party, all of these things will spring up again.
All right, let's move on to the next story. Tension is rising across Nigeria's federal public service as workers in very outpaid sleeps. staff in the Federal Ministry of Information, Federal Ministry of Food Security, and also the Federal Ministry of Education, including agencies like Federal Road Corporation of Nigeria and Nigerian Television Authority, report shrinking pay and missing allowances. Promotion arrears, wage awards, and statutory benefits remain unpaid, worsening hardship. Labor sources warn that without urgent government clarification and settlement of outstanding entitlement, mounting frustration could trigger industrial unrest and disrupt public service operations nationwide. Esther, is it that Abuja is broke, or is it that Nigeria, because these are federal workers, of course, so is it that Nigeria is broke? What happens, in a case like this? You're having salary court, you're having issues of unpaid promotional allowances, wage awards. And in fact, this issue of wage award is not even just specific to federal workers alone. We also have state workers. I remember, when I was in Abia, we've had couple protests, especially when it has to do with unpaid money is actually going to, or maybe perhaps it's going into infrastructural development, and the people have been forgotten in terms of their pocket.
Clearly, it's not going into anything positive to Nigerians. It's going into the pockets of the politicians to help them stay in power and build whatever thing they are building together. They don't pay these people, not because Nigeria is broke or the states are not able to afford them, but they just want to make it that they take from the poor. They just want to make it a habit that even the ones that they are entitled to, they still take it from them and just make them rely on them, like the government.
Okay, now not being accountable to the law and all that. What should these workers do? In a country where protests are now becoming almost extinct, because of course people have been protesting a couple times, in different ways and for different reasons, of course, but yet the conscience of our leaders are not being spoken to with protest. What do you think should be done? At
this point, I don't even think protest should be a thing anymore, because I don't think there's ever been a time protest influence the decision of our government. There's never been, whether it's peaceful, whether it's violent, whether it's whatever. As far as it has to do with protest, they just sweep it under the carpet like it means nothing to them. Why are people working and they're not getting paid, and you're comfortable with that? If you're not getting paid, then why don't you just stay at home and find something else to do? Why do you have to go to work every day? Because you definitely, if you come out for a peaceful protest, they'll take it against you. If you come out for a violent protest, they'll still take it against you. So if you feel like we've been doing this consistently and you're not getting paid, I would advise you just re-strategize and do something else for yourself.
So you think that's just the only solution? Just leave government work and probably do something for yourself?
Because at this point, you would not, like the other time that they blocked Wike from going into his office, what happened? The next time he took them to court. All of these things, I don't know. It's more like intimidation.
Is Nigeria broke? Is it that we don't have money to pay these people?
We can't say that. We do have this money, but they'd rather use the money for something beneficial to themselves than beneficial to the people.
So you don't think, for example, in Abuja, we've seen lots of construction of road projects and all that. You don't think that's justifiable that the money is being used for that?
There is money allocated for these things. There's money allocated for road construction. There's money allocated for payment of workers. There's money allocated for development of whatever. So what happened to the money allocated for payment of the workers?
So do you think it's from the government, or perhaps because we've heard a couple times where, some of the heads of these ministries, departments and agencies, were called out for probably, not paying these people and, turning it into their own personal properties, into their personal monies and all that. So is it from the government? Is it from these people?
It's from these people, because the government will not even give them enough. If the money allocated for payment of workers, it's let me use it. I think it's of like 10 million. The government to send 8 million and use 2 million for themselves. Now those people in turn take their own cuts and either pay them little or nothing. So I mean, even the people that receive this money, they barely get anything out of it.
All right. Former Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai was released Wednesday by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission after days of questioning, but was immediately taken into custody by the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, sources said. The federal government has filed charges at the Federal High Court over alleged unlawful interception of National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu's communications linked to remarks on Arise TV. Meanwhile, The Department of State Services has reopened investigations into the 2019 disappearance of Abubakar Idris, known as Dadi Yatta, and reportedly seized El-Rufai's passport. And we also heard El-Rufai's home was raided by the EFCC not too long ago. Also, opposition parties and civil society groups have criticized President Bola Tinubu's signing of the Electoral Act 2026 amendment, calling it a regression that could weaken electoral transparency ahead of 2027. The People's Democratic Party accused the ruling All Progressives Congress APC of rushing the legislation out of fear of defeat. The law, passed by the National Assembly and signed at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa, has sparked debate over electronic transmission of results. Groups including YIAGA Africa want it weakens reforms, while others urge continued advocacy despite concerns over transparency and election integrity. The African Democratic Congress ADC has faulted President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for approving the Electoral Act amendment, describing the move as a setback for Nigerians' democracy. The party questioned the urgency of the amendment despite what it termed widespread public objections. ADC argued that rushing the legislation undermines transparency and weakens public trust in the electoral process. It pledged to mobilize citizens towards vigilance, lawful engagement, and national unity in defense of constitutional rights. The party maintained that democratic reforms must reflect the will of the people, insisting that no political action should override popular sovereignty or due process. You know, Esther, there was a time lots of Nigerians came out and were calling out for quick passage of the Electoral Act amendment. But now this is quick, or is it too quick? Or I don't know, because this is what Nigerians were clamoring for. We want no delay in the passage of this Electoral Act amendment. But the president immediately signed it. Why are people still complaining that it was too swift?
The complaints is not about it's being actually too swift. I feel like the complaints is about him signing it the way he signed it. Like
the way it came to him.
Yes. You know, you have to, I feel like as a leader, you have to put into consideration the people you're leading, right? So even if they bring this thing to you and say, go ahead and sign it, you give it a second thought. Nigerians are clamoring for e-transmission and not the manual transmission. So if you want to sign it, at least as a president, even if everybody around you is saying something, you should have your opinion of your own. You didn't think for 1 second before immediately signing this thing. I think that's what's really disheartening.
Is there something to be suspicious about the swift signing of the Electoral Act as amendment?
The suspicion I have is simple. They still want the electoral malpractice to be invoked. Because I'm not saying the e-transmission would have totally erased the idea of electoral malpractice. But it would have curbed it to a certain level, right? So if they just believe, I feel like the APC, they're not so confident in this coming election. You see that Nigerians are different this time around. Nigerians are agitated, Nigerians are angry, Nigerians are pissed, and they've gotten to the point where they can't take it anymore. So now everybody is saying, at least if they do it the way they wanted us to do it, they perceive some form of loss, right? Because everybody already knows that the ADC is a major opposition, and they see people in this party and they feel challenged, and that is why immediately it was signed.
All right. You know, the ADC has actually said they're going to mobilize, people, Nigerians especially, to be vigilant. And, we still have some people who still believe the elections can be rigged, even if, the assent goes through and all that. Or do you think it's, no matter what they do, Nigerians will make sure it can be rigged? And what do you think Nigerians can do so that these elections won't be rigged despite the passage of this particular law?
I don't know if it's going to be a possible thing, but I don't think we have to accept this. They can't keep imposing their decisions on us. We want something, right? So if it's very possible, I'll even say Nigerians should not come out to vote until our want is actually agreed.
You mentioned that yesterday. You still hold that position.
I'm still saying the same. If it's very possible, there is no need for them. They can't compel us to vote. Just sit at home. If we can come to an agreement and say, if the government doesn't do what we want them to do, we won't do what they want us to do. How would the election hold?
All right. The People's Democratic Party chairmanship candidate for Abuja Municipal Area Council, Zadna Dantani, has withdrawn from Saturday's election and endorsed APC candidate Christopher Mekanlagu. Dantani said his decision followed the intervention of FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and was also in support of President Bola Tinubu's leadership. He described the contest as a brotherhood election rooted in unity. He confirmed submitting a formal withdrawal letter to the Independent National Electoral Commission and urged supporters across Amak's 12 wards to vote for the All Progressives Congress candidate. Dantani's decision comes less than 24 hours after the PDP chairmanship candidate for Buhari Area Council, Julius Adamu, stepped down for the APC candidate Joshua Musa. Also ahead of the Saturday election, February 21 area council elections in the FCT, the minister, Nyesom Wike, has announced a work-free day on Friday as well as a restriction of movement from 8 p.m. on Friday to 6 a.m. on Saturday. Esther, it's rare for a major political party to step down for another major political party. It's rare for a party like PDP, to step down for another party, APC, In fact, APC came after PDP. PDP was there before the APC. Now, this is FCT election happening tomorrow. Do you think this, to a certain way, especially the involvement of Wike, who is actually of the PDP, do you think this, undermines democratic, processes, especially in tomorrow's election?
It does. I mean, it feels more like the PDP has lost its credibility.
PDP is probably going into exile.
Exactly. Why is the PDP shattered? Even people still in the PDP have their hands working with the APC. Because why are you under the PDP and you're clamoring for votes for someone in the APC? What does it tell us? It simply says that the PDP has lost everything they hold.
So do you think the PDP that we have now is in APC's clothing?
If you ask me, I don't even see a PDP. There is no PDP. Because what do you mean that you're stepping down for another candidate and you're in a major party? PDP was one of the most known. I knew PDP before I even heard of APC entirely. So why are you stepping down? What does it say? I mean, they've done the whole political thing and ruined everything. Because now I don't even know what was going through his mind doing this, but honestly, he has really there is no PDP.
There is no PDP, says Esther. Tomorrow is the election, but quickly before we go on the short break, does this serve as an advantage for the African Democratic Congress? Now that PDP is gone, we have probably the APC, the Labour Party, and some other minor parties and all that. Does this serve as an advantage for the ADC?
Even without the PDP leaving, I think the ADC is the major opposition the APC has. Right. Are
you a member of the ADC?
I'm not a member of the ADC.
Okay, you seem to like the ideologies.
I'm just saying that they have vision leaders there. I mean, look at the likes of Peter Obi, look at the likes of Mr. Rotimi. We have leaders with a little conscience, because the leaders we have now, they are completely ruthless.
All right. We're going to take a short break right now, and when we return, we will bring you the latest on some other stories. So stay with us and keep sharing this stream. My name is OMOTOLA ADELEKE. We will be right back.
As a people and members of LJE Green Community, we share a deeper commitment to protect not only our environment, but also the rights and dignity of all individuals within our reach. Every day, we are faced with responsibility to uphold human dignity. If you see something happening around you, do not turn blind eye. We must act, because that's where our role as ambassadors come in. Being an ambassador doesn't require any superpower. It requires awareness, compassion, and the willingness to speak up. If you see something, say something. It's our duty to stand up for justice and amplify the voices of those who can't speak for themselves. One voice can spark a movement, and together we can create a nation that values human life. You can reach us on 070-5236-8821 or visit our website at www.ljenigeria.org to report a violation. Remember, if you see something, say something.
Welcome back. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at some other trends making the rounds. Of course, Ogun State Police Command to arrest TikTok user over alleged false rape claim. As the Ogun State Police Command has concluded plans to arrest and prosecute a TikTok user, Mirabel, after she allegedly admitted that her earlier rape allegation was false. The admission reportedly occurred during a viral phone conversation with social media personality Very Dark Man, also known as VDM. An audio recording shared online captured Mirabel apologizing and acknowledging that part of her story were untrue, including claims about threatening messages and a TikTok account she allegedly created to support her narrative. She reportedly attributed her actions to being under the influence of drugs. Police sources disclosed that officers are monitoring her treatment at a hospital and a plan to take her into custody upon discharge. The case, which began with allegations from the Ogijo area, initially sparked widespread outrage on social media. Esther, finally, we've probably almost gotten to the conclusion of this story. You know, yesterday you said you choose to believe her despite the fact that, investigations hadn't been concluded. You said you still choose to believe her. Does it now sound like women supporting women now seems like we will support women even if they're doing bad things?
At the time, it wasn't said that what she did was bad. She came out and made a claim that she was raped in her house
without proper investigations.
Yes, and I said it yesterday, saying that if it turns out to be that it was a lie, she should be arrested. So her arrest is totally fine by me. But I said I choose to believe her because aside clout chasing, why would she lie? So obviously it's been out now that she was clout chasing. But regardless, I would have still believed her.
Regardless, you would have still believed without proper investigations.
Yeah.
Okay. We cannot all agree that she should be prosecuted. Of course, she had received money from some people. She had received money from Very Dark Man. A lot of people have been traumatized. In fact, this morning I was reading a story of a woman who said she and her husband have now separated because of the disagreement they had because of the story of this particular girl. Just like you, she chose to believe her without proper investigation. And her husband was saying the stories are not lining up. And it created a form of rancor in the house. You understand? And, you still think choosing to believe will not affect other future girls? Do you think choosing to believe without proper investigation will not affect people who are real victims of rape?
No, even if another victim comes out tomorrow and says the same thing Mirabel says, I would always give anybody the benefit of doubt until you're proven otherwise.
Now, this might not even be about you. If everybody chooses to believe and it comes out false at the end of the day, is it not going to affect future real victims of rape?
This is going to definitely affect real victims because when someone comes out with a similar story, Nigerians probably think it's the same cloud chasing. I saw Simi's posts where she was apologizing to Nigeria, saying she would never speak on any rape case again because of issues like this.
And she didn't say that, actually. That story wasn't validated yet.
Simi.
Yes.
She did.
She mentioned it that she's not going to support that.
She said she's apologizing.
She said it.
She tweeted that she's apologizing.
Okay, because I saw some people saying that was AI and all that she did.
Verified account.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
verified account where she was apologizing that she would not speak on rape cases in Nigeria again because of.
Did she say she's not going to speak on rape cases in Nigeria,
or she
won't believe women's statements on rape cases anymore?
She said something about speak on because she was seriously agitating for this girl's intervention and all of that.
She was almost even calling for death.
Yeah, so realizing that this story was fake, and I can imagine what it would have done to her. Other activists that would have come out to support her right now,
A lot of them are now
they
quiet.
would feel really broken. I mean, ashamed and like, look at the story that we're actually pushing for.
So don't you think-
So it's going to affect the real victims?
So don't you think someone like her should learn a lesson like these people and not just choose to believe before investigations are out?
Choose to believe. I would definitely give you the benefit.
So will you choose to believe anyone who is not just a lady? Is it about the gender
It's
for
not
you?
about the gender for me. I mean, that's
Okay, for a false rape